the money goes towards anti-racist work, creative work in the city, so far with the Herbert Gallery. So how did this book begin? We didn't start on a book project. I saw a message from the Herbert Art Gallery. So the Herbert put a call out for two-tone, memories of the two-tone period. And for many of us, we remember the skinheads, we remember the fear, we remember severe violence. And these thoughts came to my mind, but I didn't want to send just my personal story, because it wasn't a personal story, it was a collective memory of the period. So I sent a very short email to my creative friends who were also in Coventry at the in the period, and I said, shall we together do something on this? Shall we, speak to this call? So it was lockdown, it was our second lockdown this year, and we came together on Zoom, and we started meeting, usually on a Friday, weekly. We probably met about 6, 7 times, and we started writing to specific prompts, such as at the windows, or when I saw a skinhead. And then we supplemented those stories by talking to other people in our family and friendship networks. Now when I sat down with all the text, I said to my brilliant team, I said, we've got a problem, but it's a good problem. We've got too much text, because we were supposed to just create a very thin booklet, a zine. And that's when we decided that we'd make it into a more substantial book. And I was lucky enough that my department, sociology department, Goldsmiths, said, yes, we'll fund that, we'll fund the making of it. So today you can buy copies of it, and you can ask any of us to sign it. But also first you're going to hear some of these stories and a bit of a discussion between us, and Tarlo is going to kick us off.
So this is a chapter from Yes, My Mom Wore. My mom's saris flutter on clotheslines like the maddening of the sea. She wears them with ease, each fold and pleat. I am and always will be mesmerised by this morning ritual. It looks like a dance, when the ending is a flourish of energy and she looks elegant and beautiful from head to toe. Although she looks at her white hair and wrinkles and doesn't think so, I remember when I was small holding her hand tightly in town against the soft drape of her sari. It held the warmth. I remember feeling safe, and when I buried my head into her lap, and the times I would twist into the fabric to hide where she was taking too long to talk to friends that she had met in the market or in the shops down the street. You could hide completely. This garment had the magical powers of invisibility, and you could see through the thin layers, playing with the colours and the light. The smell of Avon moisturiser was never far away. I didn't see her wearing saris different. She wanted to wear a shirt and trousers once, but I think Dad, making fun of her, put a stop to that. I don't think it would have made a difference. She had wanted to be like the other women, that was supposed to fit in, which would automatically happen if you changed your clothes. Maybe a fraction. People would have thought twice about how they behaved towards her, but I don't think that would have worked. As she pointed to the fruit she wanted and was given the ones from the box no one could see at the market, damaged and bruised. I don't think it would have changed with the man shouting at her from the van and the pennies thrown on our way home. I don't think it would have helped a mother of 4 small children leaving a seat on the bus home. I don't think it would have helped with the medics making decisions for her, taking away her autonomy away. She wears her saris with ease, but she stays close to places she knows with her adult children to protect her. She wears her sari with pride and tells me stories of how her mother and grandmother wore the same cloth in different styles. She has tried again to wear something different for her yoga classes at the local community centre. But she wears what she knows, her second skin, her armour. She thinks she looks old-fashioned, but she stays within her sari's folds like a butterfly about to soar.
At the window. Back then, I loved our house. We didn't have to share it, 6 other people. I loved our lounge, purple carpet, flowery curtains and the nets. It was a pain for my mum to keep those nets clean, but it was those nets that stopped us from being hurt. I loved our front windows looking out into the front garden and our small street with 12 houses, 6 either side. Like most children our age, I was maybe 8 or 9, it was early evening in the summer, we'd had a bath and we were getting ready for bed, and as usual I made the mad dash in a towel from the bathroom upstairs to the electric fire in the front room to get dry and put my night clothes on. We didn't have central heating. We heard the sound of the pellet coming through the window. The angle by which the air pellet hit the window, cushioned by those net curtains, made a tiny hole before it landed on our purple carpet under the window. It meant that it must have been fired from the bottom of the street, from the opposite side. We knew everyone on our street, or so we thought. My father thought it must be a particular house on the street. People he knew wanted to hurt us by firing an air rifle at our house. My father was purple with silent rage. He must have felt hurt too. I vaguely remember he called the police. I don't remember whether they came or whether anyone was brought in charge. I suspect not. A lot of people seemed to have air rifles by us. We came to the UK because there were people who wanted to hurt us, and now we were back in the place where people wanted to hurt us again. All of the windows facing the street didn't feel the same after that incident. It was a way to keep an eye out on things, to check we were safe, and not a way to let the light in and glance at the neighbours' comings and goings. If the police didn't do anything, then who would? In my own house, I don't have net curtains now, so I can see out and let all the light in. I can also check all the comings and goings. I call it being nosy and vigilant. I think I prefer to see who was taking aim. Even now, whilst I love walking in the countryside, the sound of shotguns still frighten me, and my brain tells me it's time to run. Our parents are there to care and protect us. They were angry and fearful, and as our child, the worst kind of fear is for our parents. Their silence was meant as a protection, but resulted in more fear. How do children cope with that?
The nurse comes in and gives a quick look towards me, her eyes checking me up and down. She goes out, leaving without saying a word, probably returning with another member of staff. They still haven't spoken to me, or even smiled. So cold, I'm still in shock and dazed at what has happened, frightened to ask. I feel as if I've been there for hours, wondering where my dad is. Is he okay? That look on his face. He had tears in his eyes when he put me in the ambulance. I can make out 3 different voices having a conversation between them about meeting up for drinks after the shift ends. I can see one nurse walk away while 2 walk in, still chatting. They pause in between the passageway and the cubicle. They both glance towards me, their eyes moving around and then towards each other, and then with a slight smile. Wonder if it's got elastic. As she's in mid-sentence, a doctor in a white coat comes in, and the other nurse responds, "Your time to find out." They continue with the staff nurse popping in and out of the cubicle with their banter between them. The nurses both are giggling as one of them gets a pair of scissors and cuts my pretty pink savar along the side of my leg. I close my eyes, embarrassed, and cringing, feeling sick. I then hear the doctor speak as he moves towards me, lying there in pain. Him with a sheet of paper, and he says it's her right arm. So they giggle, and one of them moves me and cuts my camise from the back. I hear them tut as I make a sound with the pen. I was silent all the way through. I hadn't spoken up. I'd let them have their jokes and say all their comments. Had I let them think, believe that I didn't understand? Was it my fault? I wasn't thinking of the pain in my arm, the bone visibly broken in several places. I was embarrassed. This wouldn't have happened if I'd worn my pretty pink crepe de chine sauvage would. I should have worn the faded polyester green trousers with a brown cardigan as usual when going out. Over 40 years later, I look at the scars visible on my arm, and the moment that memory awakens. The day I didn't have a voice, I was a no one.
I forgot to say at the start that each chapter, we have 12 chapters, and each chapter it starts with a prompt. And there's pieces of art at the start of each chapter from Tala, from Sandy, Samra, and Paul Cockrum, who usually hides over here with his sketchbook. And I did invite him onto the panel, and he said, "Are you trying to frighten me?" So this cover is from Paul's sketch. And the story, I didn't write this story, it's from chapter 7 on match day. Paul created this piece of artwork in response to the story. The story was relayed to me by my brother. I was one of those post-war babies, so my brothers are much older than me, and they experienced it differently, the 60s, 70s and 80s. And this is what my brother Tari relayed to me. So chapter 7 on match day. Match day was the worst, especially when the fans were leaving the match. On Saturday, I would be driving back from playing football with the Asian team when the city match was finishing. I would only be a few minutes from reaching home. It was very, very slow moving, the traffic, with the fans coming from Swan Lane and King Richard Street. I would be sitting in the car and so frightened in those 10 minutes or so. I would always be hoping I would not come across a gang, especially from another town. Even if they were from our hometown, we were still scared of them. I once saw them turn over a car on Swan Lane, near the football ground, and the man was still in the car. My car would not protect me. It had a fabric roof that could be cut open, or they could just walk all over it. Upon seeing a group of skinheads shouting and walking towards me, I can remember closing my eyes, hoping they would not see me and notice I was an Asian. I just wanted to be visible, invisible. I just wanted to be invisible. That's how scared I was.
Add to that. So I remember when I was younger, people kind of amplifying their names and not really being proud of what they were wearing or even their language. So I think now people are not really looking for recognition because they're actually creating their own groups, and then it's up to you to come into our groups. It's all about integration as well, but I think from our own experiences, I think people kind of stuck together to kind of protect themselves, but I think people are becoming more confident and proud of who they are. I mean, I've grown up with TV series such as Goodness Gracious Me, Desmond's, and all of these kind of empower the diaspora and kind of make you reflect on who you are.
Can I answer the validation question? Is that all right? Can I stay sitting there? ripe old age now, which is why I'm sitting. But you know, you get to an age where you really don't care what people think anymore, do you? But I guess what I do have a problem with, and I think racism does exist, and I think you'll probably be walking around with your eyes closed for the last few years if you think it doesn't, but what I have a problem with is our kids, our families, our black brothers and sisters being denied the opportunities that everyone else gets. That doesn't happen to be of colour. That's what I've got a problem with. I have a problem with health outcomes. We heard about those earlier from some of the work being done at Warwick Uni. You know, I have a problem with Asian women being 2 times as likely as a white woman to die in childbirth, and a black woman 5 times as more likely. I have a big problem with that. So I don't need anyone's validation, but what I do want is a fair shot and a fair chance. I don't need to ask anyone's permission for that. I'm demanding that.
One of the things I would like to say is today we've actually shown, when we're talking about discrimination or making assumptions, one of the things is that people do make assumptions when they see the colour or age or the way somebody dresses. Today, and I've had a few people say, I was quite surprised to see so many people. Initially, and it wasn't any racism, they were surprised seeing elderly or middle-aged Asian women in suits in this place.
That's a positive side, isn't it?
So this is something that what we're doing is not making assumptions by looking at somebody and thinking they haven't, you know, they won't attend or they won't access these places. If we look around us now, I'll tell you, all these ladies, they may look as if they're wearing suits and they're elderly or they don't know the language or they're speaking in a different way. They are all very, this is not just qualifications, they are women that have actually, they've contributed to this city, to this country, and to their families and the next generations. So one of the things is changing the myths and actually celebrating what they're doing.
So it seems that we're out of time. Just want to thank you all for your comments and your contributions to the discussion this evening, and really appreciate you staying behind. It's the last session today, so thank you for doing this. Huge thank you to Nirmal. Without you, none of this would have happened. You have magic fingers, magic hands, and a magic wand, I believe, that you just make these things happen. I have no idea how I managed to write in a book that got published. I don't know how that happened, but it was down to you. Thank you.
I don't want the last word, but what I want to say is that I consider myself fortunate in terms of who's around me, who's surrounding me. I see myself as a lucky academic because I can collaborate with all these people and all of you, and it's not everyone has that opportunity. So you know, I really mean that with full gratitude. And for me, doing this is life affirming. It's life affirming, and hearing you. So.
A final thank you to our speakers for this session and to all the sessions today, which have been absolutely fabulous. Thank you also to Warwick University for the Resonate Festival, to Helen who has been instrumental in putting it together. Thank you to you all for coming. Can I have a round of applause also for all the great workers and helpers who have been here today?